Whoa, what is happening in the crypto markets? I'm pretty positive everyone's saying basically this phrase of what the heck is going on. And so I thought we should probably go ahead and get into it. Crypto has experienced an insanely large liquidation event. So let me go and click over. And really, when you look at this, this is the Bybit CEO saying it exceeds $2 billion, which I'm pretty sure would make it like the largest liquidation event ever. So really good news for those people who like survived it, which should pretty much be anybody listening to this video. I don't really talk about having really leveraged positions for like this channel. I personally invest in perpetual contract futures, which have leverage, but I don't really share a lot of the information because it's a completely different risk, and it is a really different game, and you kind of have to be on it, so to speak. So I say we kind of get into this and we really reference a couple of different things. The very first thing, of course, is let's really dig into what happened. There was a huge sell-off, really probably an overreaction to the tariff news. Good, bad, indifferent, really doesn't matter. The thing about markets is the title of the news is irrelevant. It's you can count on how people are going to react, and you can pretty much count exactly how long they're going to react that way. And so I talked about, obviously in the last video, really being in a position to where I think it was like right over here on the 21st-ish. Maybe like, let me go to daily. Let me make this prettier. Here we go. All right. So it was something like right around here. Nope, I lie. Here. It was here. It was on this guy right here. And I was really saying in the video that like I would really like to see it get back up. I didn't say that. I think I said if it gets back up to 108, I was going to take a short here because we should at least go towards this yellow line, the mid-range line. But I had shared in previous videos, there was multiple wicks we were trying to fill. Everyone's gotten filled except for this guy. And realistically, in that video, I most likely said, if you go back and check, that this might be considered filling this wick right here. So if I was to zoom in, this, had to be filled. Typically when I say fill, I mean like it needs to go up 50% of whatever this giant wick is. So same thing on these previous ones right here. And obviously same thing on this down guy. So whatever 50% is of this, which is probably like around 92, 93, 91, something like that. I had orders at 93 and going down. In fact, the only one that I didn't get filled was at 90,300. I had one like right in here that didn't get filled, just didn't go down low enough. But that was my last one. So it was kind of nice to go ahead and, wake up. These things are filled and literally, hey, I'm up here already. And I was able to kind of sell and take profits right around this purpley line. Just to go ahead and take a quick little trade and make some profits. But the cool part of really the narrative is that this system works. Literally kind of using support and resistance and really looking at where all the liquidity is in the market. It kind of tells you what's going to happen. Maybe not like forever, but definitely kind of in the short term. We've looked at on this channel, we've looked at these charts before that are, let me go ahead and get weekly. We've definitely looked at a little bit longer of an approach to kind of, that's not going to work on that, to kind of look at how each market cycle impacts the price and really what happened in the past. Is it repeatable? This was the earlier cycle. This was kind of that 2017 cycle and how similar it was. And then the 2021 cycle and how similar it was. And now here we are obviously going through the exact same cycle all over again. And it's not that it's perfect. It's that it rhymes and we're looking for rhyming because I don't need to time the top. I don't need to time the bottom, but it'd be pretty sweet to get in somewhere right around down here and sell somewhere right around up here. That makes it pretty awesome. So really kind of jumping into this, coming back, we've got a pretty consistent, there we go. We've got a pretty consistent theme going for quite a while now. On really what Bitcoin's doing. It's bouncing around, and really when you look at it on a short-term time frame like an hour, it looks really tragic, like huge sell-off. But really, when you kind of zoom out to the daily level, it's really not that bad. It's really kind of within the same range. It's not that crazy. Now, that doesn't mean everything looks this way. Bitcoin actually held up insanely well for this large of a liquidation event. This type of thing, it typically marks the bottom of like market swings because, when you look at FTX, which was a huge crash, when you look at COVID, huge crash, these things, essentially, they literally weed out anybody who was going to stay in the market. They're gone now. And anybody who was trying to time the bottom and try to get in, or maybe they just did what I did. They just placed orders down here by this yellow line, thinking they're going to get filled maybe one day. Hey, all those got filled. And when it comes down and all those orders start getting filled, it literally causes a slingshot action and makes the price go right back up. And so this is doing really well to stay in the range, as opposed to if I was to look at, let's just say, Ethereum, for example, again, on a daily chart, could you say this is a range? Yeah, totally, right? We had all this volume down here, or this liquidity down here. It's going to come down to that same spot. But I will tell you that in my own personal portfolio here, that I had a lot of my orders set at the bottom of this channel. And what's crazy is, I stood the chance of getting liquidated here as well, but I didn't. I got kind of lucky on that because I never thought it was going to drop that quickly, that fast. And so this is another reason we don't talk about liquidations and perpetual futures and margins here, is just because it's just such a different game. So, but because of that, like, hey, this is a huge gain for the day, which is pretty awesome. And it all just happens automatically because you just put those things in. But here's a really good example of, holy cow, that sold off strong. I'm trying to think of maybe like another one that would have done a good example. Like, let's go look at XRP and see what happened there. XRP is a little bit of the weird one to me, just because of the type of attention it's getting, but it's staying on top of this moving average. Probably what's most important with XRP is literally the day before it closed below this level. But when it sold off, I mean, that's bananas. Like, literally, from where it closed yesterday to where it went down, that's 30%. Literally in probably just a very short period of time, it goes down 30% and bounces right back up. This looks like it was probably filling maybe some of these wicks, but this is kind of independent, which means that something like Ethereum, something like XRP, it might actually come back down here to fill some of this wick, as opposed to Bitcoin, which is its whole job was actually filling a specific wick, and so this didn't cause an imbalance in the charts like this one did. Not to go too technical or anything like that. Whereas some of the altcoins, they cause a new imbalance. XRP just being an example of, like, this is now a massive imbalance in the chart, and so it might need to come back down to $2. Maybe even $1.80 to fill to fill some of this wick, and it'll bounce right back up probably. But anyway, long story short, this is really where we're sitting on things. But it's really cool to see the thesis work over and over again. For those who've watched my videos for a long time, awesome. Thank you so much for continuing to watch these videos. That's pretty cool. And more importantly, I really hope they're helpful. Either helpful because you're becoming profitable buying or selling, or just because it really helps reduce the headache and the stress that comes with having these market alerts pop up on your phone, or hearing about it and being like, oh my gosh, is it over? Is it dying? What's going on? Like, some of these videos, hopefully they'll just kind of reduce that stress level. Bitcoin has done the coolest thing ever in that it's given a huge opportunity to those who kind of played these three lines, but also this reduces our risk. Anytime we can get in, at the bottom of a range and sell at the top of the range, or getting at the bottom of the range and just expect to go up over time, like, that's great. So that's a little bit about really what happened. I'm trying to think about what might be the best thing on the daily candle. When you really look at this purple line, we've talked about how the purple line kind of holds as support, right? It stays above the purple line consistently in a bull market year like 2025 is. And when it goes beneath it, it typically is going to stay beneath it for a while. But we've seen it where it stays above. It's closing typically above as well. Even on days like this, where like it sells off really big and it comes back up, are we going to see it close really up here? That'd be pretty awesome if it did. Right now it's at 102,000, so it could sell off. You never really know. The day ends in an hour and 37 minutes. So right now it's looking very positive that this is continuing to hold its support. which has been a thesis, I could zoom out and show you for a very, very, very like years. A very strong thesis for years. And so with that being said, when an event like this happens, if it stays down here and it closes down below here, then I would expect it to go back up to this purple line. This is where I would exit basically everything. And, as far as trades go, and because then it's going to probably kind of come back down here. Well, on the daily time, it's looking very strong. When I look at a little bit further time out, like the weekly, that's where like our weekly EMA, our weekly moving average is. Again, it's really doing a good job of holding. Like in a bull market year, it does really well, and then it stays under, and then it goes back on top for the bull market years and rides on top of it, right? Here we are back in this spot, we're riding on top of it. Could we see a deviation where it drops back down? Maybe, but on a weekly time frame, it's really not dropping back down. It's just overextended, and it probably is going to come back down. So what would this look like? In what scenario would it come towards this? Well, big recession news potentially could cause something like that. Obviously, if this was tariff news, a big recession news could be a variable. But probably what's more likely to happen is that this goes sideways for a while to allow this purple line to come up to it, so that really when it flushes, if it does, it doesn't go near as far. We obviously have this CME gap right here, which it's the futures market. So if I was to go to this one. There's a high probability that these boxes get filled, that the price comes and wants to enter into these boxes and then leave it. This is because there's no trading of crypto on the weekends. And so obviously over the weekend, it created this gap. And so it came back down. Interestingly though, on the daily time frame, what literally happened today, which was we kind of closed the weekend here, and then literally we opened down here, creating this massive box, right? It had gone up a little bit, and then it had sold off before, so I hadn't really moved it. But what's funny is this box is already filled. So literally, like, because the wick is up here, no matter where the day closes, that CME gap is essentially closed, just like this one is. In fact, I should mark it. I should like lower the opacity like I did the other ones, and that kind of helps show it. But now there's really nothing up here saying like pulling it towards it, pulling it down, except for our weekly EMA and maybe this box. But we're getting pretty extended over it, so it's kind of a good chance that we're not going to fill it, much like we didn't fill really our friend down here at the bottom, right in the $20,000 range. So again, they're not all going to fill, but 90% is pretty good. And obviously, the closer we are, the more it acts like a magnet and kind of pulls us down. So to go back to the weekly time frame, again, this is no longer a question mark, but this kind of is. Could we see it maybe fall down? Very possibly, if there's a big news event this year. Now, if this thing really takes off and we go from 102,000 to, who knows, even like 120, 130,000. When it sells off hard, it's going to come back down and use this as support now. And there could be a time to where this purple line continues to go up, and the purple line might line up with this when it sells off. And that's one of the things we look at when we're talking about like looking a month or two in advance. But for right now, the bottom line is everything's pretty dang stable, and I'm super grateful for it. This wick we're going to call that filled because 50% of it easily has been filled, and that no longer needs to be done. So at this point, especially closing above the 50 EMA, we're just going bottom of the range to top of the range, the bottom of the range to the top of the range, right? Bottom of the range, top, bottom, middle to top, bottom, top, bottom, middle, maybe middle, top. The question, it will pretty much do this forever until it either breaks out or breaks down. And due to everything else I've talked about in previous videos, the most likely scenario at this point, at least for 2025, is it's totally going to break out up towards the upward side of things. And when it does, it will pull all the altcoins with it. And, we'll see what happens there. There's a chance this could get rejected. When I was looking at stuff this morning, there's a pretty good chance it was going to get rejected right around 100 because we had the 50-day moving average that it was going to go through, probably get rejected at 100 if it was going to come back down. And we're not seeing that. So we have this really big green candle tomorrow, aka from like 4 p.m. Mountain Time to 4 p.m. the next Mountain Time, tomorrow, this will probably be a red candle. It'll probably come back down. It might even fill some of this wick, but sometimes you see green, green, green like we do over here. But sometimes on really, really big candles, you're going to see a reversal. Because this last candle had green, 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 it created all that momentum. That's a strong reason that we might see some short-term action. But at the end of the day, look, I'm along for the ride just like you. We'll just see. Again, I want to focus on buying down here, and if I think it's not going to break out, I want to focus on selling or reducing my position up here, and just taking those profits and then putting them into my Bitcoin bag or whatever that I'm going to hold for the rest of the year. Sadly, I was definitely wrong. If I was talking about Ethereum earlier, I was totally wrong on the Ethereum Bitcoin breakout. Way off on that one. You have, it's on logarithmic. I've got to go change it again. Okay. So really what you have is you have a pretty strong trend downward here, and it can continue forever. But when you looked at the Bitcoin dominance with it going up, it probably was going to tap out and give Ethereum a chance. And that did not take hold. In fear, you're only going to go to probably two asset classes in the crypto space, Bitcoin or a stable coin like USDC, USDT, where it's pegged to the dollar and it's always worth $1. It doesn't have any appreciation. So when I look at the dominance here, we've tracked this for a long time with this coming down. That gives alts an opportunity. It came up here, it came back down. And then I said, look, we're getting back up to where we should be rejecting it again, kind of creating a lower low. And that will give Ethereum a chance to really run as well as alt season. Instead, what happened? Obviously, everything went into stablecoins and Bitcoin because it was the safer asset. Obviously, it barely moved. It moved in fact, let's just give it a peek. In one day, you saw those other altcoins were 30%. This one was 6-7%. So, I mean, that's stability, folks. And so everything's going to move to Bitcoin because it's outperforming everything, aka not falling as far or as fast. But look what happened to dominance. As soon as it got up here, people were selling Bitcoin for those altcoins, and they were trying to capture, really those alts at the bottom because they're going to pop back up eventually too. So that helps reduce their position. And also when you look at my little red, yellow, orange chart here, what we have is a, hey, this is an area where we should see consolidation. Oh man, we're getting kind of high. I don't know that everything's kind of keep going to Bitcoin. And then red is the all right, this is kind of the top for moving to Bitcoin. Altcoin should be coming, shortly after this, especially when you see a big topping tail like this guy, where this one's really small and you have a giant wick. That really tells me that this is a reversal. So I'm hoping February, March, which are statistically very good months for crypto, hoping we'll see some altcoin action in here. But if nothing else, even if it goes from here to here, Bitcoin will remain stable, which is really nice. It may not move too much in price. It might just go sideways, but a lot of that volume will go to the altcoins, which is kind of cool. And so that's kind of really what I got. Really when I look at kind of some of the information around, Bitcoin, the bigger narrative is, again, if we zoom out, it's on track, right? It's on a regular linear chart. I have to change the logarithmic so you can see it all in one thing. But at the end of the day, and I'll even go to monthly, so a lot of it appears. At the end of the day, what's really hard to see is it's up and to the right consistently. This is only from 2015. If you go back and look at the liquid index, it shows all the way back to 2010, I think, or something like that. But it's up and to the right? And until we break that trend, I really don't kind of foresee anything happening as far as negative news. But hey, you never really know. We'll keep an eye on it. This is why I like to look at it so much, is maybe I have a problem, but also maybe because it reduces my risk to simply take a look at the charts. The charts are, again, for those who are newer, it is a visual representation of the global state of emotions. So I could take the aggregate emotion from everyone and put it into one candle, one stick, and I could tell you what's going on. When people are greedy, they're going to continue to be greedy. When people are fearful, they freak out, and we know they're going to sell that off. And so how do I do basically the opposite of those things to create profits and capitalize on them? Or more importantly, for somebody like me, totally want to make money, but I really want to reduce my risk, in the short term, meaning 1 to 5 years, because I'm 40, almost 40 actually, and about a month away. And then I want to protect myself for the next 5 years because I want the next 20 years to be much lower risk. I want them to be way less guessing. I kind of want to really secure a lot of those profits. And that way, a lot of you, some of you knew me when I was buying Bitcoin at $4,000. And so if that's the case, and now it's at $100,000, you can kind of see how really I stopped worrying as much about what Bitcoin's going to do to that part of my portfolio, because when you buy it at $4,000 and it goes up to $40,000, it's not as likely to go back to $4,000. And so when Bitcoin's $100,000, that's awesome. When it becomes $1 million, it will just continue to reduce my risk. And when I could buy low and I could sell some high and then transfer those profits into a safer, longer term, bag, then it just continues to build wealth and focus on reducing my risks. So that's what I got for you today. Hope you're doing well. And if you have taken a look at some of the comments in the Facebook page, in the private Facebook group, the blockchain crypto group, you'll see that I put a comment in there. If you want me to cover any specific altcoins, I think that we're going to be seeing some altcoin movement pretty soon here because the Bitcoin dominance went up so high. So I think now that it's coming down, we might see some pretty big moves in altcoins. So if you want me to cover any altcoins, I'm happy to do separate videos on that, and we'll keep this thing going. But have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.